It's about 2,500 miles from the Mojave Desert to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, but they're a lot closer in the pages of space history. In fact, it's safe to say before Neil Armstrong could get moon dust on his boots, he would need to cover them with the dust from the Nevada test site.
Both hands down about the fourth rung up.
It's been 50 long years since the moon was first beneath the foot of a human being. And scientifically, Neil Armstrong's first stride into the Sea of Tranquility on the lunar surface actually began in a massive hole created by a 104 kiloton nuclear test blast at what is now the Nevada National Security Site. And years before Armstrong and the other U.S. astronauts walked on the moon, they came here to Sedan Crater first. One of the big reasons Sedan Crater was chosen for the Apollo moon landings as practice is the things that scientifically that the astronauts could learn about crater formation. As Margaret Townsend, the Senior Mission Support and Test Services principal scientist at the site, points out, the Apollo astronauts were pilots who needed a crash course on crater formation before making the 250,000-mile trip.
It was a good opportunity for the astronauts to improve the kind of science they could do on their mission. It was thought to be helpful to understand craters and the kinds of craters they would see on the moon and be able to understand different kinds of crater formation.
And because they were limited on how long they could stay on the moon, the lessons from Sedan Crater also helped with lunar time management.
The sheer size of it, how do you go about attacking the kinds of measurements you want to make at a place like this, and how do you determine how much time it's going to take, and if you're limited in time, what are the most important measurements to take.
Communications specialist Kirsten Kellogg says it's taken years for some of Nevada's connection to the moonshots to come to light simply because the test site was shrouded in secrecy for decades.
All the Apollo astronauts except a couple came out and trained at the site, and just more recently, I've learned a lot more about it, and who knew that connection was there until you start kind of digging into the archives and going, wow, we've done a lot with NASA actually over the years.
And it went beyond conventional rocket science. There was a nuclear-powered rocket in the works for about a decade. Much of the equipment was hauled around the site by a bright yellow locomotive, now retired at the Southern Nevada Railway Museum.
It was a pretty big, robust program at the time, and actually President Kennedy, who's the only president that's ever visited the site, came out specifically to see that program.
Neil Armstrong and the other American astronauts could still have gone to the moon without having seen the Sedan Crater, but without using it to learn about crater formation, those historic trips may have been a lot less rewarding. Back to you.